Alright, we got, ooh, there's some sun. We got the cab up on it. And I was wrong about the latch back here. That's the prop rod, that little red thing. And I got the porta-power out because I wasn't sure if the little gas struts, there's the porta-power, if these little gas struts on the side would be enough to help me lift it by myself today. And it turns out they're still good. I mean, this machine's it's a 01, so that's a 12-year-old machine this year, and I've never had the cab up. I've never had any reason to raise the cab because everything's easy to get to on the inside. So I'll show you where I'm at here. Basically, oop, that was my head. 4 seats on the seat, or 4 bolts on the seat track that bolted in through those little spots in the bottom there, under that little piece of insulation. I've unplugged the seat switch right there. That's that green plug end, and there's the other end of the pigtail. And what I need to do is I need to get, without hitting my head again, I need to get this little grommet out right here. So I don't know how easy or hard that's going to be, but it's a big sucker too, and it's got a flange like this on the bottom side. So I don't think it matters which end it goes out through, as long as the grommet comes off, because it's actually a split grommet. So there, we push that out. There we go, and then yeah, that's what you got right there. So that seat should all come out, and I'm gonna take this into the shop, and we're gonna remove that switch, and I'm going to depress it and ohm it out, because I have a spec in the book that tells me where that thing should be, and I think it's on its way out. So I'll bring you back in a minute where I can get you on the stand and we can see how we're doing this. So I'll be back in a minute. Alright, we got the seat on the work table in here inside the shop, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these 2 Phillips screws. Amazingly enough, they come right out. They're just little self-tappers that go right into this plastic seat bottom. I think what happens in the wintertime is this machine sits outside and gets moisture in it. And what happens is that foam becomes frozen that's inside there. I think you guys can see that little piece of foam, and it doesn't allow this to depress. Now in the summer, I'm not sure exactly what the problem is, why it wasn't working for me, but I'm thinking that in some way, shape, or form, this thing is intermittently failing. So I've got the voltmeter here, and I'm just going to set a, right now you see, let's get it in the screen, it says open loop. When I touch those 2 connectors together, I should get a beep. I'll have to set it so that it beeps. There we go. So what I need to do, I can ohm this switch out too, but basically this is a momentary contact sort of situation. And it'd be nice if I had something to... Yeah, sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not. Let's set that to the ohm scale. Well, it should tell me. It's kind of all over the place. Boy, that's real touchy. I don't know that it's necessarily bad, but it's not making a true connection every time. That could be part of the problem, and you know, in the summertime that shouldn't be a problem because that seat foam shouldn't be wet in the summertime and frozen. like it is in the winter. And there's really not a bunch of trash or anything down there. So the next thing I'm going to do is, I think you guys can still see this, but we're going to pull the plunger off of that. And we're going to maybe remove this switch. I don't know. Let's unplug the connectors. Shouldn't matter which way you unplug them. And you could probably buy this whole switch as a unit, but I don't see any reason for that. This is pretty much it right here. And there's your switch. Just this little guy right here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try one more thing. Let me zoom out here. I'll put this in the vise so I don't have to hold on to it. And we'll check it that way so that I can truly depress it, just to make sure that that's the problem. I'm sure it is, because if you bounce on the seat, it kicks the circuit open and locks the controls out. So maybe a case of it just being really dirty in there. It's just a micro switch is all that is. See if I can get it to fail here. By rocking it one way or the other. Yeah, I don't think it's completely wasted, but I don't think it's too far off. I think just for safety's sake, and more so for my peace of mind, so I don't have to tear this machine apart again, we'll go get one of these switches from Ohio Cat, and we'll go from there. Because that seems to be the problem. If you bounce on this seat hard enough, it starts, unless that foam is frozen in there. So I think this thing has been wet enough times that it's starting to intermittently give me problems. So we'll go ahead and get another one of those and go from there. I'll probably take this whole assembly with me just in case, for whatever reason, they've changed the design so that I can get the right switch. And we'll go get a detent cable for that throttle after I figure out how that comes out. So let's go take a peeky peek at that and see where that goes. Maybe we can hopefully kill two birds with one stone. I don't use that detent throttle very often. In fact, I almost never use it. But because this machine has sat outside a lot of its life, that cable rusted and broke. So of course, you can see the cable. It runs down through there. And it would definitely have to, oh, I know where it goes. It loops around and comes back to the foot pedal. So that's no big deal. We'll just need to get a new one of those cables. Which means unbolting that foot pedal, but there's only 4 bolts in it, and it's got a captured nut in the floor, so that actually comes out real easy. And yeah, we'll go from there. So I'll bring you back after a while, guys. You guys ever have one of those days where you wish you never got out of bed because everything you touch turns to shit? Well, I was getting ready to go head to Cat to pick up parts for the skid steer, and I heard a popping and grinding coming from the front end of this Super Duty, and I've heard an intermittent pop coming from the front end, and a lot of times it's the suspension when it unloads. Those leaf springs will jump, but not the case this time. notice I have it all torn apart. I would have loved to have shown you guys that, one more time. You've already seen me do one of these before, but, yeah. I grabbed the top of the rotor and tire while it was still in there, and you could watch the rotor jump back and forth on there, so, that told me that was a hub bearing. And look at those rotors. See the hard faces come right off of them? All those spots, that's the inside. The pads are junk. Those pads are 1 year old. They've got like, I don't know, 15,000 miles on them, 25,000 miles, something like that. And you guys know I plow snow and everything, but you've also watched me plow and watched me drive. I don't drive like an asshole, so there's no reason that should be junk. Bad hub bearings what took out that rotor, I'm confident of it, and wore the pads, but got the hub bearing assembly, the whole hub assembly in the vise here, because I've got to pull these studs out to put them in the new bearing. But it binds up right here, so we know it's junk. And the other reason I know it's junk, when the internal part of that hub with the reluctor pickup on it for the speed sensor, when the bearings give out, that thing will cock to the side. You see the big flat spot on top of that? Yeah, and it's worn and it's chewed. It's because it kept grabbing that wheel speed sensor, and it effed it up. So yeah, awesome, huh? So that's what your buddy Velvet's doing today, burning off my mumble hangover. So that was pretty cool talking to you guys last night. I'd like to thank Easy and Fred and the rest of the guys who were contributing to some good ideas on some of my air compressor system plumbing and my water problems that I was having before. So thanks guys, I appreciate it. I'm gonna put you on the stand here. You're gonna look at the ceiling for a second. I gotta get these greasy gloves off before I go handling that camera. Alrighty, now I'll put you guys on the stand here, and we're going to show you how we do this. I was a little pissed off when I started this job, so I apologize for not starting the camera up for you from the beginning. I got to clamp this part of the hub bearing in the vise, so I can actually put a pair of channel locks on it. I don't think I can spin those without heat. Now, of course, I've got all the skid steer throttle cable here for the detent throttle, laying here with all its pieces, parts, and I've got to get this done before I can actually drive the damn truck, so. Let's see how I want to do this. It's not going to be fun, I can tell you that. So we'll do the top two first. And if I had a way to double nut that, I would and use that way, but we're going to have to use channel locks today. And what we're going to do is heat where that threads in. Yeah, there's no way in hell those will spin. I don't even want to try it. I'll go get the torch set up, and I'll bring you guys back in a minute. Alright, we're going to get the torch fired up and give this a go. Now, I wouldn't recommend trying to run the torch with a bunch of dirty rags and stuff laying around. I got a pair of gloves laying there, and there's a bunch of stuff on the bench that shouldn't be here for this, but we're going to keep an eye on it. I got a fire extinguisher close. And we're going to heat each one of these ears up real good. Put my safety glasses on. And, we heat this enough here, we ought to be able to walk that bolt out, or stud as it were. Usually these hub bearings do not come with the studs, so this is the fun stuff. This is what makes a not so hard job a bigger pain in the ass. And we're certainly not ready to go yet. I'm sure we're going to have smoke and smoldering and all that kind of stuff because all the grease in this hub. That's the other reason to make sure you have a way to extinguish it. That thing's glowing red. There's no reason that that shouldn't come out of there. Doesn't mean that it will, but if it were easy, everybody would do it, right? Alright, let's see if we can make a big smoky mess with a little PB blaster. Sometimes this stuff will catch on fire, sometimes it won't. Stink like hell, that's for sure. I may have to heat on that some more. A lot of times what happens is now that bolt's hot, which isn't good, but I don't really have any other alternative methods here, so. The other thing that'll work sometimes is to quench that with cold water to get that stud out. So we may go that route, but this one looks like it's going to fight me. So you kind of get the idea of where we're going with this. Got the channel locks on there, trying to spin it. So I'll bring you back when it's time to put those studs in the new wheel hub. Alright, we're back. We got a new hub assembly. Here it is. Moog. So who knows what that means, but I do see something that says it's made somewhere where it needed to take a boat to get here. So, oh well. The good news is, I'll leave you guys on the stand. The best part is, it came with new mounting studs, which is awesome because, I don't know if you guys can see this, but I got smart and double nutted one of these and heated the hub to take it out. The threads came with it, so that was the second one I took out. The first one was okay, this one's trash though. So cool that it came with new hardware. So we're going to go ahead, I don't know who we are, but I'm going to go ahead and install this stuff. And it looks to me like these are the same thread on both ends, both fine threads, so I'm going to go ahead and install these. I may even put a little dab of Loctite on those. I don't know that it matters. But I have some of the blue Loctite 242. Comes in a red bottle, even though it's blue. They make that Loctite in sticks like chapstick. And I'd like to get some of that. I've never used it before. Thought it looks a lot handier than this stuff. Because the lid doesn't stay on that. It's busted. So just one little dab will do you on those threads. Let's double check to make sure those threads are cut the same length on both ends of that, and it appears that that is the case. And we'll see what happens when these bottom out. It should show about 2 threads like the old ones. So we'll go ahead and get all these threaded in. It came with wheel studs, which is awesome. I don't have to bang the old wheel studs out of the old one. $254. It should come with somebody to install it, but you know, it is what it is. So try not to drop this thing. Get all 4 of these in here and ready to go. And we'll start them with the wrench, and we'll get the torque spec on these and torque them with the torque wrench. Some guys just ram them down with the impact. I've done it myself. I've gotten into a habit of actually finding out the torque spec on stuff, so I do it right. The other thing, it looks like there's some grease on that, but I think I'm going to grease it a little more. The Super Duty bearings have this pocket bearing in the back, and it's got grease on it, but I'm going to go ahead and take some good wheel bearing grease and smash into that bearing some more, just to be on the up and up. So I'll get you guys, keep you on stand there, and we'll just keep rolling with this. Okay, I have red wheel bearing grease in my power grease gun. So I just put some on my finger here. I don't even know if you guys can see what the hell I'm doing. Why not? And we're going to put it in that pocket bearing. It's not like I'm going to really be able to pack it much. I don't ever trust anything like this to be shipped properly packed with grease. It may be, but it's just my own little thing. Boy, that's nice and tight. And no chunkiness when you spin it around. So, I'm going to probably give these guys a little snug up. I've got a couple 21mm wrenches here to take my double nut off of this. Oh, good Lord. Yeah, baby. I put some stink on that thing. Trying to spin that other one out, and I need these nuts because you don't get new ones. Or at least I didn't see them in the package. Oh, good Lord. I did a number on those. Maybe I stretched them. That'd be awesome. Trying to get those back off. Might have to bop that with the impact. I can't believe I can't break that loose. Oh! Yep, I'm gonna have to zap that with the impact, so I'll bring you back in a minute here. I gotta find the impact. Alright guys, mounting studs are in. Ready to go with this. Now the next thing I'm gonna do, there's an O-ring that goes in this groove here. And it's supplied with a new one in the kit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of grease on that O-ring. And we're going to put that in the groove where it belongs here. Except now it's slimy and it's hard to hold on to. And of course I just put new O-rings on the old ones when I had it apart. Now a lot of this is to seal that knuckle up for the vacuum actuated hubs, which I no longer use. I've abandoned that system and use a manual lockout hub on it. So let's, I'll get you guys set up outside and I'll bring that hub out and we'll get it started. I think you guys are in the focus there, so hang tight. Now this is a little bit different setup as far as the ABS sensor. A little bit different shape to it. I don't know that it matters. I'm going to wipe out this knuckle area here. You can see that down there. It shouldn't be causing me any problems if there's a little bit of stuff in there, but I definitely want to get it somewhat cleaned out in there. What I don't want to run into is having to press that rear knuckle seal out. That gets installed with a special tool, which I think you've seen in a previous video. So this knuckle area normally would probably have some rust and stuff in it, but I've had it apart a couple of times in the last year, so it's actually in real nice shape for the most part. I don't see anything too crazy in there. I'm going to get a little flat blade screwdriver and make sure there's nothing nasty. Alright, I got my screwdriver here. I'm just going to check to make sure there's no nasties in there. And you know, it really feels pretty good in there, so I don't see anything that I'd be too worried about. Now I'm going to wipe that axle stub off just a little bit, and I'm going to apply a little bit of grease around in that hole. I don't know that that's a requirement, but it's what I do. Because I don't want that O-ring to roll up as I reassemble this. And I'll actually put a little where the backing plate goes on, or dust shield, whatever you want to call it. A little bit of crud in there, so get that out. And I guess I don't know that this is really that important, but I like to have a film of grease on that too. It probably just attracts dust and crap, but so that's that little bit. Now, we have to keep in mind here, I've still got the old ABS sensor on. The dust shield has to go on first with this sort of as a unit. About like so. And we just line the holes up and we slide it down the axle shaft. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to put some clean grease on that axle shaft. On the splines and all that, because that's where that lockout is going to go. Okay, set it up here. Sorry if you guys can't get the bird's eye view on this, but bear with me for a couple minutes here and we'll get it. Okay, now that assembly is in. We have the nuts that have to go on the back side, so we'll get those started up here, which they can be a real pain in the ass. Okay, there's one. Alright, I've got two started on there, and I really need to straighten these wheels out, but I don't want to just grab the radius arm and push it, because it'll blow fluid right out of the power steering reservoir. So I'm going to tighten those up a little with a ratchet. Just to pull this down a little bit. I'm not getting carried away tightening it. I just want to draw it in a little bit, so I don't have as far to go when I put the torque wrench on it. Some days I'm just at a loss for words, guys. I apologize. definitely want to draw this hub assembly in there squarely, meaning taking in a little bit on each side till we're pretty much there, but I got a long way to tighten those bolts. Okay. I'm going to start it and I'm going to rotate it so that I can get nuts on the other side. Still rolling? Alright. Now we'll put the nuts on this side and start to draw them in. Get my ABS wire out of the way before I kneel on it and rip it out. Now I suppose you can run these in with an impact and that would be sufficient. There's only room to get to 3 of them with an impact unless you have a swivel for the impact or a wobble socket, but I don't think you can get the proper torque on it with the wobble socket. You'll notice I do have jack stands underneath here, so if that jack decides it's going to let down, it has about 1 inch to go and it'll catch those jack stands. Okay, one more on the top here. And then I'll probably break loose to look up the torque spec. I forget the torque spec. So I'm going to look that up, you know. We have the wonder of Google to look up things like that. Notice I moved that knuckle just a little bit without starting a truck. That's okay, but if you try and pull it lock to lock, you'll have fluid everywhere. I do have somewhere I have a little short wobble extension. We'll go ahead and hook that up to the 1/2 inch drive ratchet and go ahead with this. It's a nice day out here today. It's probably 62 degrees. Snowed here on Sunday, so you know, you never know what to expect. Okay, now I'm going to go look up the torque spec on these and we'll get the torque wrench set to torque those down. So I'll turn you off and come back after we get that torqued and I'll tell you what the spec was. Alright, we're back. And I've got my torque wrench here. This is a cheap Harbor Freight click style torque wrench. 133 foot-pounds is the spec to torque those down. Now, you don't really want to use an extension on this, but in some instances you don't really have a choice. So let's start with the ones we can get without. I may straighten this out to make it easier so we can kind of go back and forth. the nuts can be tricky to get to, so a lot of times you'll have to go back and forth. Especially this lower one that I'm on right now. Okay, that's the spec right there. So I'm going to go, this is the top right side. I'm going to go to the bottom left and make sure that we're not bound up anywhere. Yeah, I may have to turn it to get that one, but okay. I think the only one left is that top left one. I'm going to double check this one. I think I just did it, but okay, so there's only one left, and it's this top one over here. Let's see if we can cheat just a little bit out of this. That might have been enough. Oop. Okay, those are torqued. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start to reassemble this hub, and I'll put you guys down low. I hope the sun's not really in the way too bad. Actually, I may just zoom your backlit pretty good so I think you can see what I'm doing. Okay. Now, we have all our little pieces parts over here in the order they came off. And I'm going to wipe them and just sort of hang them on those wheel studs for the moment here. Because I'm going to put fresh grease on them. Do they need to be greased? Probably not. Just a light film will be okay. Just want to make sure there's no dirt on it because I am working outside here. Now, first thing that goes back in is one of these flats. And these are your thrust washers for your four-wheel drive. So, I'm going to smear a little bit of grease around in here. And we're going to put a light coat of grease on that. So we got a flat that goes in there. It's already got grease on one side, so we only need to grease one side of this, which will be the one that touches. That's your hex washer, and then that will touch this, which is the other metal thrust washer. I like to put some grease in those splines to make the four-wheel drive actuator slide in and out easier in your lockout. But the next thing that goes on in this whole ordeal is a snap ring, which I have right here. And I'm going to kind of wipe it off just a little bit so that I can hold on to it. And I got a pair of snap ring pliers here. These are tool sale snap ring pliers. They're not good ones, but they do the job. So we're going to spread that snap ring just enough to get over those splines. And then I'm going to take, I got a little flat screwdriver here. We'll just walk that snap ring right into place. Usually it works faster than that, so we'll go ahead and we'll put the pliers back on it and expand it. Okay, now we're a lot closer. Now, I don't believe that's completely seated, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a pry bar. I'm going to pull just a little bit on the stub axle, just to make sure that this stub is out as far as I can get it. And we'll go ahead and tap that in, and I should hear it click. And there it went. I just watched it drop into place. You can double check yourself with your snap ring pliers, and go ahead and try and rotate it and make sure it stays in its little groove. Looks like we're in. I want to mess up my Torx bit here, so I'm going to get a punch, a flat punch or a drift, and tap that one more time. Just want to make sure that that snap ring is seated in there. That's all. It just sits in a little groove. And that appears to be in. Now, next order of business. Is my lockout assembly here. Now this has got a little bearing in it. In the center, I just want to wipe off anything that might have got on it while it was sitting out here. Got a gravel parking lot, so it probably wasn't the best idea just to leave that laying around out here. But you know, everything's good with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take grease. And I'm going to put that grease in these splines to make sure that's good and lubed up. That looks good. It only goes in one way. The center of this has to line up with the splines on the axle stub shaft. There we go. Now, we have a snap ring. Did I really need to tap on that with a hammer? Probably not. I just want to make sure it was back as far as it could go. Now, it seems to me like it's not in as far as it should be able to go. So, I'm going to pull it back out just to double check. that I didn't do something wrong. And we should go all the way in there. That's all the way in, so let's go for getting the snap ring in there. Doesn't feel right though, so I might have done something. Yeah, that should go in there better, so let's do a little investigation. Positive that snap ring is where it's supposed to be, but it doesn't take much distance to be off for this not to go in properly. I really think it's in though. So maybe I'm imagining things. Who knows? Oh, there it went. That's what we were looking for. Now we'll put this snap ring in. Basically start one end of it and use a screwdriver or whatever you got. And that locks in there. And last but not least, we've got the lockout itself here. And I think I'm going to go ahead and clean this up with some brake clean real quick and make sure it's all good to go here. Blow it off the blowgun. And we'll get that put on. So I'll bring you back when I'm ready for that. I think I got some trash in this. Alright, we're going to continue on. I got that cleaned up, and basically the selector should be in the free position, and I've got one screw already started in it. These are little Torx headed screws, and they've got a tapered head on it that wedges them to tighten them down. I'm not real keen on the setup, but they seem to loosen up. Probably could put some Loctite on them, but the problem is getting them back out is an absolute bear if you put Loctite on them. So we'll do it my way, and they've got some oil on them, and that makes it so you can actually get them back out. So just go around and tighten these all down, and we'll do a quick test to make sure the hub locks and unlocks as it should, which I see no problems in that. I've done several of these. I've done this truck several times, and have another Super Duty that's had lockouts changed on it. So this kind of stuff, unless you have pieces in the wrong place or omitted, chances are that it's going to go back together the way it's supposed to. It doesn't mean that it's dummy proof, but you know, having done it several times, I get pretty lucky here. So watch me screw it up. Okay, last screw. We'll go around and tighten them up. Now this is the only hub we're changing. You should probably change them in pairs, but I think it was $274 with tax for this hub. I think that's where we're going to stop on this one. We're not going to get all carried away and change both sides. If I had the money, I would certainly do it, but I think we're going to stop right there. The next thing I'm going to do, I have to put pads and rotors on this. So the rotor will be the next thing that goes on. Just kind of keep going around this to make sure they tighten up. It seems like as you get one side tight, the bolt next to it or adjacent to it, 180 degrees on the other side, will loosen up once it seats. So there's that. We'll lock the hub in, and alright, we're spinning the yoke, so that's where we want to be. So that's nice and free. And yeah, that's where we're going to head with that for the moment. Pull this ABS sensor out of its holder here, and that's that. I'll fish all this nonsense through here, hopefully. I may have to bend it a little bit to get it to go. Probably should have fished that all through there first. Yeah, we're going to have to tweak that to get that through there because I'm not pulling the hub back off. So we'll just kind of give it a little fishing through like that. Maybe cheat and send it through the other way. What you don't want is a bunch of rust falling down in there if you pull this sensor out. So let's see if I got the right size Allen wrench here. Of course I don't. That's a 5mm, and I wonder if it's 4.5. I'm sure it's not standard. Oh, maybe it is. I'll be darned. Alright, well, we'll do it that way. We'll just let the camera roll. Alright, we got some standard hex keys here. It's looking like that might be 3/16. Alright. Wow, that's not the right size. Maybe it was the metric one. Metric one just didn't want to go in there. Well, really? 3/16 spins in there. Let's see what other choices we have. It is not. That sucker has to be metric. Yeah, those are standard and these are metric. 5mm just a touch too big. And 4.5 is too small, and it's not 3/16. That's interesting. That's because it's not an Allen key. It's something else. It's not hex shaped. It's stop sign shaped. Have to see if I have something like that. So we'll cut it off one more time here. Alright, I apologize, I had to charge the camera up. Right when I cut that last clip, it was flashing red. So this side's back together. Basically the hardest part about doing this is when you put these calipers and brackets back on. I don't know if you can see the little silver springy clip in there. and that keeps the pads spread off of the caliper or off of the rotor. Just a little spring clip. Those are kind of a pain because you have to get those on there and then get the caliper over it and get the pin bolts in and tightened. The only thing left to do on this side is to torque down the bracket bolts on the top and bottom, the 2 bolts. These are 42 foot-pounds, and these are 166. My torque wrench goes to 150, so we're going to hit them there and probably put a 1/4 turn on them if I can. So we're going to try that. The other thing, I normally just ram those down with the impact, but everything's on there. We're good to go. It'll just be a matter of putting the wheel back on, which I'm going to do, and I'll bring you over to the other side and show you how the brakes go together, since that was the last thing I did on this side that you guys didn't get to see. So I'm going to, first of all, I've got a couple of the wheel nuts holding the rotor in place so it would sit on there square. So we're going to pop those back off real quick before I forget about that. But we're spinning nice there. I've taken some brake clean and wiped the oily protective film off of these rotors. You might be able to see where the rotor slides over the hub. I've got some caliper grease on that, just something so that that doesn't seize onto the hub, so when you go to change the rotors next time you don't have to beat the bejesus out of them to get them off. These have been off so many times, and they've only been on there a year, the original ones that I just replaced, that they came off easy, but they get a rust lip in there and they get to be a pain to get off. So I've already torqued the caliper pins down. Now we're going to go ahead and torque the caliper bracket bolts down. Like I said, it's supposed to be 166. 150 is what I got, so we're going to go with that, plus a 1/4 or maybe a 1/2 turn. I don't think it's conceivable that I can break that bolt with this torque wrench. That's a fairly large bolt. There's 150. That's max on the torque wrench. So let's see what we can get out of them here. Oh, good googly moogly. Let's see if I can do this without slipping off and killing myself. There's 150. And that's pretty stinking tight. I've never had one of these ever come loose on me from just using the impact to tighten them, but oh, that's 150. See if I can get another partial turn on that. I doubt it. I don't think I have enough ass to push it. Oh God, not really. No way, Jose. So that be that. Now we're gonna mosey into the shop, and I'm gonna show you. Well, actually, we'll do it out here on the ground. Why not? See if I can get a good camera angle here. We'll set you up right there for a second. Alrighty. Now, one thing I've already done. Here's your caliper brackets, and your rattle clips go in these areas. I've wire wheeled those out to get the rust out, and we're going to put some of that brake grease for greasing caliper parts. We'll go ahead and put a little film of that in there, just to hopefully keep the corrosion down. and then we'll go ahead and install the rattle clips on top. Some people would agree this is a good idea, others would say it's a bad idea because it attracts dirt. I've done it both ways, and I guess I've never really experienced any problems by doing it this way. Then you have these rattle clips. I'll install them and then show you how they're installed once they're in place, just so you know the orientation of them. It's not rocket science. They'll only really go one way. Some of these anti-rattle clips actually fit real tight. This brake kit, these are CarQuest brake pads, but they're made by Hawk, which is Carlisle Friction. That's kind of how they go in. I don't know if you guys can see that. So that caliper will actually, or this bracket will actually go like this up there. Now the next thing I like to do is I'll put some of that caliper grease on these where they hit those rattle clips. You know, you don't have to get carried away, but just a little something on there. You don't want it all over the place. This is this caliper grease is a high temperature grease for brake components. It's not something you want to get on the friction surface itself, but you certainly can benefit from having a little bit on there. Now we'll get the brake pads installed. You see the curvature of the pad and the curvature of the bracket. That's the way they go. There's no other way that these can go in there and work. So here we go. We'll get them started in there. Don't be worried if you get a little touch of grease on the pad itself. It's not the end of the world. You know, just try and be diligent about not making a big huge mess. Then you have these spring clips, and there's little holes in the back of the pad. And you install those, and a lot of times what these end up doing is causing you a real bit of grief when you try and install the pad. So I might wait 1 second until I get that caliper on there before I get those locked into place. We're going to leave that set for a second. I'm going to wipe off this hub. I'm going to put a little film of that grease on there and install a new caliper. Excuse me, not the caliper, install the new rotor. So I hope you guys like these kind of videos. I'm not real good at explaining, but I try and give you enough information to, you know, get you through it. I'm the kind of guy who, when I do a job, I just think about 10 steps ahead of what I'm doing and just do it. And I forget to tell you what I'm going to do or what I was considering. Now this hub isn't as greasy and tight as the brand new one, but I don't believe this one's going to give us any trouble immediately. But if it does, then we'll be changing this side too. Hopefully it'll wait a couple months before it socks me in the checkbook again. This is just one of my personal preference things to get some grease in here. It's messy. Is it necessary? Probably not 100%, but I like being able to disassemble things and not have to fight them. Because a lot of guys will take a big mash hammer and beat the shit out of a rotor to get it off, which is fine if you're not reusing it. I like to be able to just disassemble things. And a little bit of grease flying around, really doesn't upset me. I oil spray these trucks. You can see it's all grimy underneath here. The blow-by tube on this Super Duty here for the diesel actually goes into my air box. I don't let it blow into the intake for the air-to-air cooler. So it's always blowing a little bit of slobber out of it. Okay, so we've got that. Now we're going to slide this rotor on. I'm not going to clean it yet. I'm just going to get it on there. And I'm going to put a couple of lug studs on there to hold it. One's actually sufficient, but you can put as many as you want on there. As long as you're not in the way of yourself when you're trying to assemble this, which truly you shouldn't be, but you can do anything any way you want. This is just kind of how I do it. That should be sufficient. Now, the next thing I need to do is get the pins out of the other caliper. I just kind of slid the bracket off of it, and we're going to do that here real quick. There's one. There's the other. Okay, so I'll pull those bolts out. I'll set all this stuff to the side. I've got the lid off the master cylinder, and I'm going to actually compress that caliper and get the pistons to slide in. So in order to facilitate that, I've got this little chunk of 1/4 inch stock to go over the dual pistons and my C-clamp here. And I'm going to pick this caliper up and rest it on my knee and get any crust out from around the boots while I can still reach them before I shove any of that trash in there. I'm going to set that right up on that spring. Some guys will wire these up. I go back and forth whether I wire it so it doesn't fall and stretch that hose. They sit real nice on that spring, so that's the way I did it today. Your results may vary, so we'll go ahead and turn this in. And this caliper is going right in. No issues. They make a tool for this. I don't own it. Some people use a large set of channel locks. I don't own a set that big. Probably should. Should go to Harbor Freight and get a pair, but I'm not a big fan of the knuckle busters. And I believe we're compressed there, so we'll go ahead and release that tension. Take the C-clamp off. Now, next order of business. I'm going to put this caliper bracket, which already has a set of pads installed. Gonna be ginger about it here. Sometimes putting those clips in doesn't really do you any favors. You should almost wait to do it sometimes. But do it whatever way works for you. Sometimes I do it that way, sometimes I don't. Not all pads have those clips, those little springy clips, but a lot of the new ones do, so. Okay, I'm going to tighten the bracket bolts back there. I'm not going to tighten them completely down. I'm just going to get them snugged up so I can get the rotor or the caliper over the caliper bracket and the new pads and all that. close to being in the home stretch here. Now these pads have got some sort of backing on them. Might be for anti-squeak. Some guys will put some anti-squeak compound on the back of those pads. This synthetic lubricant is okay for that as far as what it says on the can, so we're going to go ahead and do it. I could have just put it on the 2 contact points on the other side of the rotor, but sometimes it's just as easy to be sloppy. A lot of things I'm into functionality, and other things I'm into doing it nice and neat and clean. So, okay, now's the time when I'm going to take some brake cleaner and I'm going to clean both surfaces of that rotor. And of course my inboard pad is in the way to clean off the back side, so we'll go ahead and dislodge that for the moment. Get a clean side of this. And just hold that rag against there and spin it and wipe that crap off. You could use solvent, lacquer thinner, whatever you like. This is what I use. Okay, now we'll go ahead and we'll slip this pad back into its spot. Alright, next order of business. I'll wipe off those caliper slide pins. There's one. There's the other one. Now, you guys that live here in the salt belt, in the rust belt, whatever you want to call it, I live in Ohio, you want to make sure those are lubed up good, and that the boots that surround them aren't all ripped up. If they are, you might need to get a caliper hardware kit and install new boots. I did not elect to do that because the boots are about a year and 6 months old, so they're a year and a half old. They're just like brand new. So we put some lube on that and put it back into its spot. And then we're going to put the little springy clips on those brake pads. After I install the lower one. Okay. And I install one of them, because if I install both of them right now, it's going to shoot that brake pad right off of there. The other thing I'm going to do, and this is kind of a personal preference, I'm going to put a little bit of this grease on the contacts where the pistons come out. That can also attract dirt and cause those seals to wear out prematurely, but it's my personal preference to do it that way. I've done it without and with, and it never seems to make any difference in the longevity of that caliper. So I'll put the second spring clip in this pad, and you kind of got to hold on to them. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set this caliper up here and get it around the pads, about like that. You got to use your fingers to push those pins in. And you got to continually hold it up there till you get a bolt started in one of those pins. The GMs have a pin that has a shoulder thread on it, and they go in a little different than these Ford ones do. But I just need to get one started there, and I can let go of it. pins just like we did on the other side. Sometimes you gotta fiddle a little bit and jockey it around to get them to start, but because I'm already having trouble with this bottom one, but here it goes. Okay. So the next step will be to torque those pins down. The pins where they go in to this bracket have a flat spot on them that needs to be indexed with a flat spot on the caliper itself, and that's what keeps that pin from spinning when you tighten this bolt down into it. So you just kind of got to watch out for that when you're reinstalling. Okay, we'll go get the torque wrench and we'll go ahead and ram these down, and it'll be time to put the wheels back on. Okay, that one's clicked. Now you always want to hold a torque wrench out at the end to get the proper leverage on it. So that's it, guys. I'll bring you back. I gotta put that camera back on the charger, I'm sure of it. Yep, it's flashing at me again. We'll get the final torque on it and get the wheels on it, and we'll go for a test ride. So we'll catch you in a few minutes. Alright, sorry about the background noise, but we're on a little test ride here. I had to run back up to the auto parts and pick up a quart of .3 brake fluid. Evidently I didn't completely top this thing off when I led the brakes the last time, so I decided we'll take it for a run up there and see what's what. Hopefully I don't have a line that's got a pinhole in it somewhere and it's squirting, but I couldn't see anything under the truck after I compressed those calipers, so not sure what the hell's going on there, but we'll drive it and make sure the brake fluid level doesn't go down. It's got a nice tight pedal, so hopefully we got it done. I don't have any, so far don't have any growling issues. So hopefully we've eliminated that problem. And like I said before, guys, you should probably change those hub bearings in a pair, you know, do driver and passenger side, but budget constraints put the kibosh on that for me, so don't need to run my charge account up at the parts store any higher than it needs to be right now. Just getting back to work after a very, very, very slow winter. So I don't need to start off my season with $800 parts bill. Fortunately for me, they warranted those rotors that grenaded and the pads that were barely a year and a half old and have like no miles on them. I'm at 116 for mileage, 116,000, and I put them on at 89. So, 25,000 miles. So, who knows? I don't know why they grenaded so quick, but usually I get quite a few miles out of a set, and those rotors just turd bombed and took out the inner pads. The outer pads had a ton of meat on them, so and everything was free. The caliper pins were free. You could jerk the calipers around once you compressed them. They moved just fine. So you know, not sure what to think about especially, it just destroys them. So everything seems to be okay, other than the fact I'm down to about a quarter of a tank of diesel fuel, and I'm gonna have to suck down about $150 worth of fuel, but all's well for now. So hope you guys enjoyed this little video. I know a lot of you don't like the driving videos because my camera has got a lot of background noise, so I'll cut it off here, and we'll get this one uploaded for you tonight. So hope you guys are having a good Monday, and we'll catch you later.